This video goes over the directions for the Arabian Merchant Journal assignment. First, I'm going to read through the directions and do a little bit of explanation, and then I will hopefully be able to answer in this video some of the most commonly asked questions about this assignment, as well as ideas on how to get started and how to format the assignment. So first, we need to take a look at the directions. Arabian Merchant Journal. Muhammad challenged Arabs with his new messages and ways of thinking about religion. Although his messages were somewhat familiar to Jews and Christians, they were quite radical for Arabs. Imagine that you are a merchant living on the Arabian Peninsula in the year 628. You are able to meet lots of new people as you trade with others from different towns. Recently, you heard about a man named Muhammad and some of the new ideas he was preaching. Write a journal entry about what you and other Arab merchants might think about these new ideas and how they are different from what traditional Arabs may be familiar with. Provide a multi-paragraph response with historically accurate details about Arabian culture, Muhammad's ideas, and how an Arabian merchant may have reacted to Muhammad's teachings. So essentially, with this assignment, you are taking everything that we've learned so far in Unit 2 and bringing it all together in a creative writing assignment. So as a reminder, we completed the Arabian Merchant Journal pre-writing activity last week. We compiled all the details that we remembered about life on the Arabian Peninsula. So these are the types of details that your character needs to be referencing. This is the world that your character is living in, living a nomadic lifestyle, talking about the desert climate, the difficulties of living there. People in Arabia were typically polytheistic, tribes were fighting. So these are all things that your character can talk about and reference. Also, we took notes on Muhammad's ideas and we compiled a list here. These are the things that your character is going to have to react to. So think first about who was liking Muhammad's ideas, who was disliking Muhammad's ideas, and why. Heading back over to our assignment here, I'm going to point out a couple key things in the directions. First, you're imagining that you're a merchant living on the Arabian Peninsula in the year 628. So you are creating a character. This is not necessarily you transporting yourself back to the year 628, but this is a character. So if it helps, think about it more like a narrative writing assignment. You're creating this merchant character and you are writing these journal entries from that character's perspective. Also, this is in the year 628, so make sure we're being historically accurate. So there's no air conditioning, no cars, airplanes, or anything of that nature. In the third paragraph, we have most of our directions. You're writing journal entries. Now, you can choose to write one long journal entry, or you can write multiple smaller journal entries over the course of several days. It's really up to you. This assignment is very open-ended to allow you to get creative about it. But essentially, your purpose in this assignment is what so your character and other Arab merchants might think about these new ideas and how they're different from what traditional Arabs may be familiar with. For example, Muhammad was teaching and telling people they should believe in only one God. Most Arab merchants did not believe that at this point in time, so that's something your character can discuss in his or her journal. You will also provide a multi-paragraph response. Again, you can do this in one long journal entry or in several smaller journal entries. Aim for a minimum of 2 to 3 paragraphs in your response here. Some things that I've noticed and some of the most common challenges with this assignment is just how to get started. One really good way to get started is by starting out just by saying, "Dear Journal." And you can start by describing your day. I have found that it helps to approach this assignment from 3 different areas. So 3 different topics or even 3 different paragraphs if that helps you. First, it might be a good idea to describe your day or your life as a merchant. So who are you? Who is your character? What's your character? What are they selling? Does your character have a name? Is your character male or female? Is your character an adult or a kid? What city does your character live in? Where does your character typically travel? Are they having difficulty with how hot it is? Do they have sheep and camels, or do they have goats? So describe kind of in a paragraph life as a merchant, kind of daily activities and the daily struggle of being a merchant on the Arabian Peninsula. Next, for your next section or your second paragraph, your character will have to describe how they heard about Muhammad's ideas. Which ideas did your character hear about? How did they hear about them? Maybe they heard about this idea of believing in only one God and that the rich should share their wealth with the poor. How did they hear about it? Did your character encounter another trader who was telling them about these ideas? Or maybe your character encountered Muhammad himself. That's going to be up to you. Finally, your character will have to react to these ideas. How does your character feel about them? Does your character like them? Is your character one of those groups of people that maybe would have liked Muhammad's ideas? Or maybe your character dislikes Muhammad's ideas. Maybe they're part of one of those groups. Or maybe your character doesn't quite know how to feel about these ideas. That's okay too. Either way, you need a section that is your character responding. A really good way to do this is to have your character look at the brand new ideas that they just heard about, maybe believing in only one God, and then contrasting it with what it's like in Arabia at this point in time in the year 628. Remember, most people were polytheistic. So your character can kind of react and reflect on how believing in only one God is really different from everything that they've ever learned about in Arabia because they've always grown up with many gods and goddesses. So think about your journal entry or entries as a first person narrative account from this character that you've created. So get started, see what you can come up with. Tomorrow in class, be prepared to read what your first draft of your response to a small group of people.